Are you unable to concentrate on the tasks at hand? Do you need help focusing more or leveling up your game? Here's a tip. Try Cognizin Citicoline, clinically studied to support mental energy, focus, memory, and attention. Cognizin supports brain health and supplies the brain with the energy it needs to stay sharp. Cognizin is a leading nootropic, featured in over 200 products. This podcast is powered by Cognizin. Visit cognizin.com to learn more and find a product to help you fuel your day.
Ready to achieve great heights? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Power Your Performance, the podcast where we dive deep with leaders in the gaming world and beyond and learn the techniques they use to power their lives. I am your host, Gary Kleinman.
Power Your Performance, powered by Cognizin, welcomes Salem Thyne. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see somebody in person.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I appreciate it.
It is. I know we've had some scheduling issues previously, but it's good to see you.
Yeah.
You look healthy and well in
Yes.
a great hot, well, not so hot Texas day.
Yeah, we got some rain today, so down south it was nice.
Which is nice. So you've got a great story. Some of it's gaming related, some of it's not related.
Yes.
But it's all about life related in a lot of different things. So you're an entrepreneur at heart.
Yes. I didn't know that for a long time in my life, but yes, I am.
Okay. So that's a great place to start. When did you realize? What was that aha moment you said, "Oh, I think I'm an entrepreneur"?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if I think back, it's that moment when I can't stop thinking of new things to do, new businesses, and you realize that aha moment of, oh, I really want to do this all the time. You know, and it's not easy, as I'm sure you talk about all the time. And so it's not a place that I would ever encourage anybody to jump into. But it was probably a moment, maybe about 6 years ago, when I think I see things differently. Like when I see something, I see how good it can be, and then, oh, that's a great idea. Well, how can we make that into a business? And then you keep doing that, and then you really kind of go, why am I so crazy that I keep trying to do this? And then you embrace it, and you realize, oh, I actually really like this, and I really like doing it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because a psychic told me a long time ago that I'm going to be eternally discontented.
Right? I like that.
Right, and he was 100% accurate because as an entrepreneur, there are two things that stick out to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this. One is you see gaps and you go, I can fill that. Like life is. It's kind of like a blank canvas,
yes.
And I get to paint it any way that I want.
Yes.
And I see opportunity to do that, which is why I have a podcast. God knows why I would ever have a podcast. And the other thing I've learned about entrepreneurs is they're okay on a very deep emotional basis with risk.
Yeah. Oh, that absolutely.
And if you're not, and I say to people all the time that want to be an entrepreneur, because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur.
Yes,
oh, God, I want to do what you're doing, and that sounds like so much fun. You go, it's not that much fun when there's $9 in the bank and payroll's coming up.
Payroll, yeah. And I'm trying to figure out where that's going to come from.
Where's the other couple $100 going to come from, or whatever it is. You go, that's not a lot of fun being an entrepreneur, but entrepreneurs see that and don't freak out. We may get worried, but you go, okay, I can do that. And I say to, and it comes up frequently when people say, well, I want to do that and everything else, is you have to be able to live life without a net.
Yeah, without knowing where it's going, but knowing that you're going to get there.
And so where's that coming from from you? Is it your background? Is it your family?
Good question.
Did you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
No. So, well, in a way, yes. So my grandfather was an entrepreneur in the fact that he, after World War II, he started his own contracting business in Florida, in Sarasota, Florida, of all places. And so he started a business, and he had some business background in there. But I never knew that from him and never got that. My father just threw that out the window, actually, and wanted to be a scientist, right? So,
oh boy, that's anything but right.
Yeah, right. So that was, I'm sure, an interesting conversation when he didn't take over the family business and it was sold and everything. So there's somewhere in my genes probably that there's this desire, but I just feel like if you rewind your life, you start looking back, and when you come to that realization of, oh, this is who I am, and then you start looking back, and did you see it coming? And probably everybody else saw it coming but me.
Right.
But like, I mean, for my entire life, I was always trying to improve things and always looking at the opportunity in something and not thinking about the risk as much, right? Saying, the risk I can manage. I can figure that out.
Right.
You know, something will happen. And you have a lot of faith and a lot of trust, which is a really weird thing. I love your 2 points on that because that's absolutely true. And anybody,
It comes from a lot of scars.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what you get.
But they're happy scars because, certainly from my own perspective, it wasn't that I knew it was going to. I'd figure it out. And the other thing that I've learned, there are two things that I've learned, and one is there's always time to worry.
Always.
Right. And whatever you think the worst outcome is, if that happens, it's not so bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can work your way through it, and there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think the harder thing, which I've learned after some successes and more failures in some respects than successes, but you have to have those, is that, and I did not come up with this line, a dear friend of mine did. He says, it's very easy to find a gap in the market, but it's really hard to find the market in that gap.
Oh, that's a good one. I like
right?
that.
And that is fascinating for an entrepreneur, because we see these gaps and we say, oh, we can do that a little bit better. And then you do it and you realize nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. There's no market
There's
for
no
it.
market
There's no money
there,
in it. There's
right?
nothing.
And it's a great idea around a kitchen table or a dining room table.
Yeah.
Because, hey, we have to do that. And we'll get into esports and gaming and everything else. And one of my fears in esports on the level that it's at right now is exactly that.
Absolutely.
There's a gap, but is there a market in that? There's certainly a gaming communal aspect and engaging at, but is there a financial market in that gap? And
I had this exact conversation maybe 2 weeks ago with some people, and we were talking about this exact same thing.
Which is that's fascinating.
So intriguing.
When you structure it in that way, that you found a gap, but so what? Maybe there's nothing to do with the gap, and the gap is just the gap.
The gap, yeah.
So let's go back.
Yeah.
Your grandfather sells the business. Your dad's doing science.
Yeah.
And Salem going around. I want to be a veterinarian. I mean, what do you?
Yeah, I want to be the president of the United States at one point, right? Because thought I could, as a 12-year-old, run the country better.
My guess is you don't want to do that job anymore.
No, because the reality, just like being an entrepreneur, the reality is a lot different.
It's a lot different
than what you think it is. And so, no, I kind of just grew up doing a lot of jobs, working at that, and I ended up actually dropping out of high school. So, which is similar with a lot of people I talk to that go out into entrepreneurship, is school was not something for them at the time.
Right.
Because you wanted to do something, right? You want to create, you want to change things.
But was it because, and we talked about this earlier with somebody else, that school, and certainly I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but here, as you're going through it, there's very little relevance to the information that you're being taught. Like, I remember, and we talked about this earlier with somebody, I was taught to diagram a sentence in school.
What do you do with that?
What do you do with that? Nobody's ever asked me, where's a dangling modifier? I don't even know what that is, right?
Yeah.
But I spent hours having to diagram that.
Yeah.
So when you start having experience like that, no, there's something else. If I can't apply it someplace, I don't want to know it.
Absolutely, right. And I thought it was too smart. I was like, okay, so this doesn't work for me. This won't be applicable. This won't be applicable. I loved economics. I loved all of that stuff in school, and I was really good at school. I just thought I was too smart. And then for me, I got into a conflict with that one teacher that won't budge, which was actually really good. The best life lesson ever. And I ended up dropping out just basically days before graduation because I wasn't going to pass.
And this is high school?
High school.
Wow.
Right? And I did 3 high schools growing up, different ones, right? So I was in Bakersfield, California. I was already like in what I thought was at that age the armpit of America, right? Like this wasn't my town, and so I just was like, I guess I'm not going to be in school anymore. And I went to the graduation, and they had an empty seat for me at the graduation still because they didn't know the school counselors or anybody. And I'm sitting there, and there was a girl that was in that class, Lynn Tran. I still remember her name. I mean, so this is decades, right? And I remember her name because my empty seat was right next to her. And I was just sitting there going, what did I do? Right, And that moment inspired me at that point from that point on, I was never going to like put myself in a position that wasn't within my control, right? That why quit? Why stop? Why do anything half good just because of a moral or some adolescent belief that I didn't need to be there. And it was just a great experience for me. And so then I worked in restaurant business for a long time. I used to 4 or 5 jobs, right? So I would detail cars while working in the restaurant business, while being a baker, while doing all this stuff.
Did you feel lost at that time, or did you think you were gaining experience?
Probably at the time I felt probably lost, but I see the impact, the value now. But I was just trying to pay bills and pay rent and live on my own as an 18-year-old and understand all those consequences.
And was your scientist father going, "Oh, what did I do wrong with my son?
Yeah, what the hell?
How did he go left?
What is wrong with him? And why is he not going to school? And why is he not getting a degree and a master's degree?
Who raised this kid?
He's super smart.
Yeah,
no understanding at all. And I think probably the first indicator that I should have been running my own place was I was working in kitchens. I was a daytime chef in an Italian restaurant, and the owner of this one real restaurant is in Denver, Colorado at the time. Comes in and he goes, "Salem," and I'm 18, 19 years old, right? And he goes, "I had a dream about you. Actually, it was a nightmare about you last night." And when you're that young, you don't want to hear any owner of a business coming in, right? And now, as an owner of a business, I could only imagine doing that to somebody today.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, what was that, Jack?" Right? And his name was Jack Leone. And he goes, "Well, we had this big like brown paper pull down thing that we write specials on and stuff." And he said, "I had a dream. I came into my restaurant," and he said "my" really strongly, of course, right? And he said, "And you were up there and you had taken all the paper and you'd put it up on all the walls and you were rewriting every menu item we had here and all the things that you would change about the store and all the things that were wrong with my restaurant." And he left it really blank after that. And I'm just sitting there like, oh no, I'm fired, right? Like, what did I do wrong? I just thought I was voicing my opinions and being, good and all that stuff. And if you look back in retrospect, it just is that there's something in our brains that tick that we just can't stop, and we always want to fix things. And like you said before, the challenge and the way to balance that is, where's the market in that gap, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I spent the next years, over my life learning, that you always look, the numbers make sense. Is there anything? Can I make money doing it versus can I just solve a problem?
Right. I mean, and listen, I think failure certainly helps educate you to that, and saying, okay, I found enough gaps in a market and found that there were no markets in those gaps. So now, if you certainly when I see it, I go, okay, fine, I think there's a gap, but now let's see where the market is in that, and shorten that process.
How easy is it of a market,
how easy are they reachable? Is there a definable audience? Can we reach that audience? Do they care? And is there any longevity to that? Because some of that is one and done, and they're just phenomenally intelligent people that have done that and failed. And even recently with Quibi, they had a $1.5 billion war chest and lasted 6 months, and they had Hollywood royalty, political royalty, and $1.5 billion. And nobody said, is there a market in short form storytelling?
Absolutely, right.
And there wasn't.
There's quickly. Not. And
there isn't.
I've talked to so many prospective entrepreneurs, and I've reviewed so many business plans in the last, 5 years of my life. And I see the same thing always stated in there, which is like, once people see this product or once people see this, everybody will want it. Right? And that's my biggest challenge, is that's not true, right? Like, who has a dire need for this today that's not being filled? Who can't live without whatever this gap that you're filling is? Right? And then how do you get to them? And then what's realistic for them to actually
There's no question. And we, at Skins, we're launching a new product that does address it. We're not going to talk about it here, but nobody's done it. And the fear is, well, maybe there's a reason. Nobody's. So why do it now? We'll talk about it later of what it is, but there is that fear.
Absolutely.
And most people I know, including myself, we don't test the idea enough.
Yeah, and I think if you don't have that fear, though, then that's a problem.
Yes.
Especially if you want to own your business and run businesses. I think that fear is healthy, because what that fear does is it prepares you, and you start looking for why it can't work, and starting to create action plans, start to do more market surveys, start to do that. What troubles me is the people that come in and don't have that fear.
No.
Right? Don't. They're just like, oh, absolutely, this is going to work no matter what. Confidence is great, but that's not confidence. That
doesn't replace reality.
Exactly.
I'd rather have me tell somebody what's wrong with what we're doing, because then I can fix it.
Yeah, right.
Right? If everybody wants to hear what's great, I always think it's great anyway, so I don't need somebody co-signing the greatness.
Yeah, no,
I need somebody to say, no, that's not going to work, and here's why.
You're not seeing this or this.
And that's valuable. And I think you have to have a mindset of understanding that you've been wrong before when you've been dogmatic about your position. So, all right, so now you're doing all these different things.
Yeah.
So did you get a full-time traditional job?
So
what was that like?
I got a storied background. So then, as I was working in all the restaurant business, I was just basically aimless, right? And I'm at this point, 19 years old. I'm managing a restaurant in downtown Denver. I'm a baker at 2 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm working and trying to convince the boss of an auto detailing business how to expand it and how it can be nationwide, right? And he's not listening, of course. And I just don't know what I'm doing. And a friend of mine calls me from high school and says, look, Salem, I know you dropped out. I know it's always bothered you and stuff like that. I'm joining the nuclear naval program, right? So you can operate nuclear reactors in the Navy. And he goes, it's the most challenging educational program, and I know you could kill it, and I want you to get that, that little bit past it. Prove to yourself that you could do what you didn't do before. And so I was like, well, crap, I'm not doing anything in life, so why not, right? 6 years is what you think, okay, 6 years, what's 6 years of my life, right? Once again,
you're young.
Yeah, I'm young, and I guess it's a new opportunity. And so I said, sure, except I didn't have a high school diploma. So then they put me in an opportunity school. I took a word processing class for 3 hours and got my diploma. That's some irony of their education system there. I spent a whole year of AP English that I didn't pass, and I took 3 hours of word processing and got a diploma. So maybe there's some inequity there.
Okay,
that we don't want to talk about the education system.
4 years.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So I joined Naval Nuclear Program, and I was really good. And so
you go from managing a restaurant and baking to Naval Nuclear.
Yeah.
You've got to be a group of one.
Yeah, there are probably not a lot of those out there.
Yeah, you're not finding a lot of people at that reunion that did that.
That's funny you mentioned that. I never thought about that. No, probably not. And no, who knows how many people have done that. But I went in there, and I realized I was really good at stuff that I could put my hands on, and I could learn that way and learn the whys and learn, how to operate as good as possible and be as good as possible. And then stayed in for almost 12 years.
Wow.
I was an instructor in there, instructor of the year in the Navy as well. When I was in there, I just really embraced the
now you have credibility.
Yeah, now people actually,
they think,
I'm not a high school dropout. I get a degree while I'm in there.
Now they go, oh my God, this guy's brilliant. It's like,
they don't know, but
right? Even your father said, well, that's close to science.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he must have.
Yeah, I think he was finally happy. He actually admitted to me one time, because he didn't want me to go, and he's like, why were you going in the military? Right? Like, come on.
Right.
Like, this is the last thing, and that made me even want to go in even more at that age. And so, he eventually said, man, I guess I've been wrong about all those life choices of yours. But it really set me a good tone of confidence, and that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and that you have structure for. And
I was going to say, structure, you were not all that comfortable, or you didn't like structure.
No, I hated it.
And here you go to
right to the structure.
Probably the most structured environment other than being an inmate.
Yeah, pretty close to.
That's right below inmate and structure.
Yeah, I think so. I think our food was about the same quality.
So it's probably the same kitchen, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. So I get, but it's funny to go from such an unstructured kind of bouncing around. Yeah. And then somewhere, it's almost like self-medicating yourself, where you go, I guess somewhere in the back of my head or my heart, I know I need that structure to balance me out. And, fortuitously somebody comes with that opportunity.
Yeah, just somehow out of nowhere, and I thank them to this day, actually, because that's that pathway that I would not have even thought of and even known about.
Yeah, really.
We were supposed to go in at the same time, and that got all messed up too. So it was my journey to take, and it was great. So.
And then you come out.
Yep.
Structured Salem.
So I come out, Structured Salem,
You don't want to bake anymore. You want to get up at 2
don't want to do that. And so then I totally unstructured myself for about a year, which was weird, and just kind of did nothing for about a year, just kind of some odd jobs and stuff. I wanted to kind of just, rebalance myself. I didn't want to come out of the military and be the military guy, right? That you go out and try to get a job and they're like, oh, you're not going to work here because you're too military, right. Which is kind of funny. But I didn't want to do that. So I took a year off and then went through some, lots of personal growth during that time period. And then went down to New Mexico to a uranium enrichment facility. So kind of did the same thing I was doing before and kind of played to my strengths again. Went down there and then and grew in that business, did some international operations for the business, would go out and at my last little bits kind of go out to Europe. We had 3 other sites out in Europe and had helped one of them through a pretty tough time and kind of restructure all the culture in the business and do that too. So that was like all the corporate kind of side, right? And then one day I get a call from my father, and I talked to him about this family business before, and he's like, I think we're finally there, right? And I've been kind of trying to help him like understand what there was for a long time. And I looked at the business, and it's an oil and gas, so it's energy, but it's definitely less structure than nuclear. And I looked at it and I said, it's his dream. It's a family business. It's an opportunity. I probably should have looked at the market a little bit more because it's a grind, right? The oil and gas market can be good and bad, and it's a new technology. And so I said, this might be a good time to completely throw my career that I've worked hard for my entire last 20 years of my life, throw it up and take a chance and go in there and develop the business. And I absolutely loved it, right? The amount of risk is unbelievable. When you say like that risk, I've had that conversation with multiple people in the last couple of years. And the risk is just like, you just have to be okay because there's nothing certain, right? And we went through...
And is that because it's a market risk in terms of the volatility? Where is...
Yeah, great question.
...that risk?
Everywhere. I think, in a business, it's everywhere. Do you have a consistent market? Do you have volatility? We did great for the first couple of years. I took it from zero revenue to multi-million-dollar revenue business in a couple of years. And then pandemic hits and oil prices go negative. All of our customers call us like in the same week of March, and they all like cancel every contract, put it all on hold. And you're just sitting there as a CEO, running this business going, okay, what can we do to discount it? How can we save this? How can we keep them on? Can we do things for free? How are we going to make payroll this year? How are we going to, everything. Going from flush to famine.
Oh my God, right.
Yeah, in a week. And so, because that can happen to any business.
There's no question.
Yeah, no question. And so then from there, what do you do at that point, and I have a lot of a belief in accountability and stuff, but I believe that, when you're in a situation, you have to soak in it like a hot tub and understand that's where you are. And then now what? What are you going to do now? Because that's all reality. I don't know when the pandemic's going to stop. I don't know when oil prices are going to change. So what would I do in the business today if it never changed? Yep. So, so then worked in that for quite a while and still there. Business is doing well, so that's good.
It's a good, it's a better time in oil and gas right now.
Better time, but we were a new technology, so we learned once again that the whole comment of is there a market for the gap? We're filling an amazing gap in the technology side, but we had to let the market come to us, and we are too soon. And that's so often in entrepreneurship, you can be too soon. For every Airbnb, there's 5 that were just as good or better that didn't make it.
And that created the market.
Yeah, created it, right? Because they were there to begin with.
Early enough to kind of seed everything.
Yes.
And then the person that's there when it's flowering go, look, that's fantastic.
This is so easy. This is amazing.
And they weren't, I guess in Hollywood they say it takes 30 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right? That's pretty good.
Right.
And most businesses, they're 10 years, 15 years in before you hear about it.
And then everyone says, oh my God, that's great. How long they've been around you? How long they've been around? Right, because you'd never heard of it, because it takes a lot to build.
Yeah, absolutely, in time. And sometimes your market's not there and you have to wait for the market, and you have to create the market. And we've kind of had to create the market and also wait at the same time. But the market's coming to us, which is great. And the business, we prepped ourselves, our brand, our messaging, our technology, everything, and spent all that time kind of in the just getting by to be able to thrive when the opportunity arrives. Yeah. So, and so then that was going well. And then I got into esports, and I have no idea that turn was out of nowhere.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So nuclear, oil industry, esports.
I'm going to take a leap that you're not a gamer.
I grew up.
Okay, well,
so
that's interesting.
I was the kid. I grew up with the Atari. I had a ColecoVision that I won in 3rd grade at a raffle, and I played games all the time. I remember winning Mike Tyson Punch-Out, right? I remember exactly that you had to wait for the flashes, and then you had to dodge, and then uppercut, then dodge, and uppercut, dodge, right? Now the whole thing. I was the first kid on my block to win, to beat Mike Tyson. So all that stuff was, I'm ingrained with gaming. I love it. You don't always have time as you get older, and you're actually trying to start businesses, but absolutely love games, right? I played with all my friends growing up, so it's in your
DNA.
It goes together with business, I think, because it's the strategy. It's trying to figure out how to get something to work and all the other elements going in. And when you play a lot of games, you have to try to figure out what's the code behind this that I can. Yes,
there's no question. And then there's team play, and there's strategy, and there's winning,
which is always important.
Incentive-based. Well, gaming is nothing but incentive-based behavior, right? I mean, it's no different when you go to the market and you put in your phone number and you get 10 cents off the bananas or whatever. That's all a game. And people, gaming has been a core need for forever in a day. So how does esports come into? Because I don't believe that there is an oil and gas game.
No, not yet. Right. Yeah, I don't know if there ever will be.
I think that's the only industry that has not created an esports team.
There's our gap, right?
Yeah, there's your gap.
I'm not going to look for that.
You can have that one.
No, I'll pass that. Anybody listening, go for it.
Please, we'll support that, and we'll buy the game, but we're not putting dollars.
Give me a call. I'll give you maybe some advice. But no, so this actually happened in our current business. The way that I like the business is since we're a new technology and we embrace innovation, that we have a very relaxed structure in the business. And so all the people in the business, I listen to any and every idea, right? Because you never know where the next idea comes from.
It comes from the most unlikely source.
Yes, and I'm getting older, and so I realize I don't see the same gaps where markets will exist, right? I just don't. To go back to the same thing, right? Because as you're young, you see them. And when you get older, you're like, no, because all my experience, this won't, and that's not always true. And so one of the guys in our business who grew up as a gamer and grew up in esports, was world ranked in CS:GO and stuff. So he had some experience. He's a gamer. He was a gamer, and now he's basically works with us with all of our financial analysis and economics and modeling and stuff. But he came to me and said, "Hey, I saw this business and this idea out in France, and it was on Instagram of all things, randomly, and it looks really cool. What do you think?" Right. And so it was on a Friday, after a Friday meeting, and there's a couple people in the office still. And so I said, okay, we'll bring it up. Right. Let's look at it. And the first thing I always say is, okay, here's my 50 things wrong. Right. So, or questions. Right. Like they might have answered them. I don't know. But I out of experience, how is 90% of this plate made? Right. And so I said, okay, this looks really cool. And it's in esports, it's VR. Right. It's embracing a different kind of gap, that niche that maybe doesn't exist yet. And so I said, okay, well, here's all my questions, and go get them answered, and go contact the company that's doing this over in France, and they're small at the time. And I said, come back to me and we'll talk, right? And they had worked with me because we, as a startup, you have pitches, you get funding, you do all that. So they kind of have a little bit of the knowledge of the process, right? Which is very extensive, as you know. And so a couple weeks later, come back to me with all the answers to all the questions, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, now if you guys want to do this, then you think it's good, then you got to do all the legwork, right? And I'll mentor, and I'll sit over this and do that kind of stuff, right? But I'm running a company, I don't have time. And so on your weekends when you're young, and
go figure it out, do it.
Yeah,
right.
you go do it. And I said, these are the top 10 things now that I still have to get answered. And excuse me, woo, I was coming for about 10 seconds. But, and
they
so
might edit this.
Yeah, they'll probably edit that one out. And so the top 10 things, that I needed answered. And they went back out, they called the company, got all these things done, and I said, okay, great, throw a pitch deck together. I have a whole bunch of CEOs and peer groups that I participate in, and I'll be the messenger and I'll throw it out there. If I like it, I'll throw it out there and see what they think. And we went out, and at the end of one of the peer group meetings, I said, hey, anybody have 10 minutes just to look at this? And these are very seasoned, business owners or CEOs of businesses that have a lot of experience, so I respect them, and they'll tell me exactly if I'm all screwed up. Right, straight up. There's no,
good.
Yeah, they're not going to pull any punches. And I threw it out there, and they had put together a great presentation. I probably didn't even do it justice because I just kind of, had it out there. And about, half of them in there said, okay, I want in. And I was like, I wasn't actually thinking we were going to start the business, right? I was just thinking like, hey, what do you maybe in a year from now we can talk about it again or something like that. And so I said, well, now we have there's some
people.
And they get it too. And they had the same couple questions I had that we had to answer. And then it just kind of went from there. And that was about a year ago.
So you must have been happy to kind of get back into gaming because you enjoyed it, and here you are. Who would have thought the opportunity came up that I can go back to something that you love at this point in your life, which is actually very cool.
It's really cool, except I'm like, okay, am I being a fanboy, right? Like, because like I really like this, and I have to be careful because what you like doesn't always...
There's no question.
You know that one.
I know that one.
And so I had to check myself a little bit. But absolutely wonderful to be able to be involved in something that I think will be extremely special in the U.S. It's an exceptional product. It's really
and it's different from because I want to talk about what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's it called, first of all, so everybody...
Yeah, so EVA, so Esports Virtual Arenas, they started out in France, and they launched out in 2019. And the group out there is just a phenomenal group that started in VR and then through esports and super connected. And they said, hey, there's not a lot of VR in esports. And so they saw that, and they put together I think probably one of the most exceptional games I've ever played. Just as far as I love gaming, I love first-person shooters and other things, right? But I love games, and that's what I love about esports is it's a game, but yet it requires teamwork.
Yes.
Right, like and high amounts of teamwork to be very successful. So it took like my military background of teamwork, right? It took my gaming passion, and it started tripping every trigger that I had, right? And so I started seeing those opportunities of saying, this is actually meets esports for the first time and puts you in a totally different immersive environment, right? So I really liked it, and I said, okay, I can see that this is missing in the U.S. So, pretty amazing.
So the differentiation then between what EVA is doing and some of the other quote-unquote traditional esports arenas. The traditional esports arenas, on whatever level they're at, are afternoon kind of kids tutoring to a certain extent.
Yes.
Being able to do tournaments on existing games.
Yep, absolutely.
Everything in EVA is VR-based.
Yes, it is.
With proprietary games.
Yep.
So you're not dealing with publishers.
Nope. So
you are the publisher.
Yeah, we're the publisher. The battle arena is ours. So the game developments are ours. So, so people have input right away to say, hey, this is good, this is bad. We'd like to do more maps. We'd like to have this. And so we're not really reliant on,
And is the only place that players can play the game is in the arena?
Yes.
Or is there kind of the home version?
No home version.
There's no home version.
So I would say this, the reason it can't be a home, unless you have a basketball court, because our arenas and this game is played on a full basketball court-sized arena, and it's full motion. So most VR that you have today is kind of in a smaller room.
Yes.
Maybe 1,000, 2,000 square feet, or in your house, in your movie room, or in your bedroom or something, and you're in a small VR environment. You can turn right, left, maybe take a couple steps, bounce around there, but the game moves and you kind of just exist inside of it. This is the game exists and you move inside of it. So if you want to go somewhere, you have to go there, right? And you're walking, and the game moves only as fast as you walk. And when you crouch, you crouch. If you jumped, you can only jump 6 inches. So
the footprint of the arena is how large?
Is about
in the game portion of it.
About 5,200 square feet.
It's
yeah.
And then how many courts or fields?
So we have two per location.
Per location.
Yeah.
So you
side by side.
10,000 square feet. Contiguous, split in two.
Yes.
And there are two battles or scenes going on at any given time.
Yes, and the differentiator in VR is there's no player versus player games today. So this is the first VR player versus player full, team versus team, because it's built on an esport backbone, right? So now you have a 4-person team versus a 4-person team in a first-person shooter type of role. So you're doing domination, you're doing free-for-all games. It's the same thing you've been doing on your computer at home, but now you get to go participate and be your person.
And not that it was designed this way, but it is also aerobic.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So there's this health, because most VR, you're putting on a headset and you're moving here.
You might get your heart up a little bit. And ours, I think most of our statistics say about a mile traveled on every 30-minute session. And you're crouching and you're up and down and you're doing stuff and you're leaning around
so
imaginary
people coming
objects.
Out sweating to death, right?
I was.
Oh yeah. I would think that.
Yeah, a funny story about that, because before I actually saw it, I went out to France to go see the actual facilities they had open out there, and at the time they think they had 5 of them open. Today there's 50 under contract and under construction, so they have 12 open with another 38 coming.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how popular it's been. And I got out there, and there was a little kind of mini tournament going on, because they just were kind of fledgling at the time. And there's guys out jumping rope out in the parking lot, and I'm kind of like, well, this is not what I normally would see, right? I'm like, maybe this is just a weird guy or two. People are stretching and all that, and I'd never participated in the game, right? And so I was like, okay, I didn't get how physical it was, and then they get me in there and we go participate in the game, and I'm in good shape. I exercise and stuff, and I got out of the 30-minute session, and I'm like, my hamstrings. I'm like, oh my, I got to take a break, and I was just like, what is this game? Because you lose yourself in the game, right? As you do in any other gaming, you immerse yourself so much into it. Time goes away, everything goes away, and then you put yourself in a VR environment where if I don't crouch, I'm gonna get shot in the head. If I don't hide behind this, I'm done, right? And I need to go take this and crouch behind and defend my positions and all this kind of stuff. I was exhausted. And I was like, I see why. I mean, we really have to stretch before.
So for those that obviously have not experienced this, would you say that this is the next version, more an interactive version of laser tag?
Absolutely. So on the low side, it's interactive laser tag that has endless player characters, customization, different maps. Because laser tag, the problem is after a while you kind of know the spots, and you know the one kid that's sitting in the corner that keeps hitting you all the time, where he's at all the time. This is the maps are changing, so you have different experiences. The teams are 4-on-4, and their strategies are changing, how they're going to approach the game, and so it's that elevated to 10 times over. It's all that excitement that you got in laser tag at the very beginning, but it's sustainable because every time you go, it's a different team you're playing against, and the map is different. So you're on this blank court, but you have teleporters that take you to different areas. You have different maps. You have different places to hang out and to hide or to take advantage of.
And then there are spectators are seeing what the participant is seeing?
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to see it at EVA, you can basically Google Esports Virtual Arenas, or I think we could say EVA League and things like that, and you can see the videos. But it's very standard esports, right? So you're going to see what the players are seeing, and we follow around whoever's got the last kill kind of thing, and you're watching that along with a map where all the player data is, kill-death ratios, everything that you're used to.
So there's a whole statistical thing that people that frequently play.
Yep. And we
can monitor their progress.
Yes.
And where they are and where they rank.
Yep, they have levels, rankings, everything, leaderboards, all the stuff that you're used to. All the stuff that you're used to doing at home with the games and the things you want, and with customizable skins. So you have all your player characters are saved, things like that. I mean, all those elements of gaming that you really love, right, that you're special about. But you get to go do it for the first time ever, right? And so you get to go participate for the first time ever in a competitive environment.
When's it open?
So we'll be opening late October. So we had some delays just in our construction, which is anybody in business today knows. But we'll be out here with the first ever in the United States. Okay. So late October, we're going to be opened up. Additionally, not only is it just the playing experience, because that's kind of what you get in a lot of VR places. You go and you play, and it's okay, great. But we've also put on a full, really cool kind of retro lounge that we have some games and some other things to do while you're waiting, along with a restaurant and a bar. So the idea was like, for me, what I liked about it, when I was younger, we went to coffee shops, we went to other places, and you had to hang out and you'd play games there. Right? And I really liked it because you get your friends together and you'd go play, maybe it was Magic or something, right? Or whatever card game, who knows, right? And you had your coffee and your food, and you got to hang out for several hours. We wanted to kind of the same environment so that gamers, they feel really comfortable going somewhere, finally face-to-face and doing fun stuff, play the game, go out, have some good food or something like that, maybe a drink, whatever they want to do, hang out on a couch with a nice table, play another game, do whatever they want to do, go back in and play again. So it's an environment that's just really inclusive, community-based, fun everywhere, but not like too over the top Dave and Buster's fun that it's just too stimulus. It's more relaxed after you go compete.
Oh, that's great.
Which I love.
I can't wait for it to open. We'll do an event there.
We would definitely do an event.
Skins will absolutely do with the new product we'll talk about. Yeah. Not on this session. I love that. I mean, I love this your journey.
Yeah.
I mean,
thank you.
Which is fantastic, and I know you've codified some of that thinking into a book.
Yeah, I know. If I didn't have enough going on.
Well, you know what? As I think my mother said to me, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Right.
They'll always get it done
because they'll get it done. You want if you have a friend or somebody that doesn't have a lot going on, don't ask them to do anything. Because they don't have time to do it.
Find the guy that's working 60 hours a week, and they're going to do
time. And it's really funny. The business. So people say to me, "How do you do?" A couple businesses and a podcast. It's simple. There are a lot of hours in the day.
Yeah, there are.
You just knock it out, right? And
fit it in.
And that's what you do. So tell me about the book.
Yeah, so 2 years ago started a kind of an idea in the middle of the pandemic because wasn't doing as much because, you have the oil business had dropped out. So we were doing branding and things like that. But I was like, man, my mind was going crazy because there wasn't enough business. And a good friend of mine had always told me he wanted to write a book, and I had talked to him about something that I had been experienced with before, which is called the accountability ladder, and it comes from a real famous book. But I thought it fell short, and the accountability ladder kind of just tells you, are you being a victim or a victor, right? So are you letting life lead you, or are you leading your life, right? And there's just two different elements.
No question.
And in most people's views, they always go, oh, that guy's so lucky, this guy, we broke that down to kind of understand that there is luck in the world, but luck is generally due to someone's actions, right?
Correct.
It's preparation that just meets opportunity, right? That's luck. And so I was in the shower and I had this idea. I was like, oh my God, we could write this book. I mean, my friend, he knows this, he understands it, he's lived it too. And so I don't have to bring someone along the journey. And so I jump out of the shower, get on the phone really quick. I call him in a hustle. Hey, we're going to write a book. I got it. I'll talk to you later about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, out of nowhere, like, what the heck's going on? And so then, we kind of talked about it, and we said we had enough material. I have a really in-depth understanding, a lot of experiences, he does too. And so basically it's a book about really how to achieve happiness in your life. And we don't care what the definition of happiness is for any one person, because that's yours, right? Happiness is individual. I can't tell someone $1 million is going to make them happy.
Right.
I can't tell them this or that. Every person has to figure out what makes them happy, and they have to start that process by understanding where they are today in life. So what a book does is uses our own personal stories, our personal journeys that we've gone through on this, And it starts to identify where you are as a victim, right? And then how to get to a victor. And the key element of this, and the way the name of the book is to understand one key principle in life. And if everybody that listens to this, everybody that could ever hear this, I would just want one key principle. When life is hard and you don't like where you are, you don't like the outcome and anything where you're at, tell yourself 2 words. And that's nobody cares. You know,
it's true.
Because nobody cares what you're going through until you do. Mm-hmm. So the book is about understanding in your life that nobody cares until you do. And so understanding all of these things that have made us a victim out there, because society loves victims because they buy lots of things, right? Mm-hmm. Victims want to solve, new diet plan, new this, new that, right? Question. Fix it for me, right? Instead of me fixing it for.
The secret.
The secret, right? Here's the secret pill that will make you happy. And that you understand that nobody really cares if you get to be happy except for you. Yeah. And so the book is named Nobody Cares Until You Do, and we kind of take a journey, the first half of the book, of it is about victims and what it really looks like, you know, that there's a lot of traps out there that we think we're being responsible and accountable, but really we're just waiting for someone to come save us. And then acknowledging where you're at today and moving forward with the solutions in life that will deliver you happiness. And I say, like, I'm not here to deliver $1 million to somebody, because that may not be happiness. Now, if it is for you, which I probably question that money will give you happiness, but if that's what you think it is and you've gone through it, then applying our steps in this book, right? And we have workshops and we have little worksheets, because I wanted something actionable, because I could just spout from the top of a mountain, but that doesn't do anybody good. And so they work through these worksheets, and the idea is take step by step the things that you don't like in your life or that you're discontent in your life, and either learn to accept them, right? And drop all that hatred, the bad baggage with it, or change it. One of those two
what's
things.
Interesting, and I don't know if the first City Slickers movie way back when, which will age me, where Billy Crystal and his buddy go to that working ranch because they're disillusioned and they're having a midlife crisis, and the wife says, go here, and Jack Palance is there, who's been that cowboy forever and a day, and it's always sat with me, and it's really the premise of your book, because at some point Billy Crystal's character looks at Jack Palance and says something to the effect of, you've been here for all these years and you seem so happy, like, what is your secret? And he said, the secret's right here.
Yeah,
and
the finger.
Yeah, he points to the tip of his finger. Yeah. And Billy, well, what's there? He goes, that's for you to figure out what is the tip of your finger.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't think we are brought up in an environment to do that. I mean, so much of it is capitalism. If you have a Ferrari or a big McMansion, then you're going to be happy, and then people get that and they go, well, wait, that's not it. And everybody's motivation is something different. The book is out when?
September 13th.
Okay.
So it's a Tuesday. It's eligible for pre-order now. So we're actually going to be in all the retailers out there, 35,000 or so.
Right. I'm going to
Target.
Read it.
It came out on Target for pre-order, and the partner that wrote the book with me messaged me and said, "It's on Target. We're on Target." And I told my wife, I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "I can buy you on Target, right?" Like, it was a really great milestone, and just to say to yourself that we put something together that we really wanted to help people change their life,
and you did it,
and we did it, and we finished it. And we put it out there, and it's actually, you can buy it at everywhere,
which I'm going to do.
Thank you.
On my way home.
I appreciate that.
I will go. Is it on Amazon?
It will be.
I think my phone just goes to Amazon.
Yeah, it will be. I don't think they have it on pre-order yet, but I know.
Well, I'll go to Target and pre-order it there.
I think Target must have like a 60-day out or a 90-day out, and then
whatever their rules are. Because one, the subject matter to me is what when we're talking about this podcast, Power Your Performance. We just find performance as everything and anything. It's not. It could be gaming performance. It may be financial, maybe social, maybe neurological.
Exactly.
It could be whatever you want it to be, which is why we have this array of guests that have different life experiences. We all have to perform.
Yes, we do.
Somewhere in our life.
That's the hope. Right? If we don't, then you're letting life do it for you.
Well, yeah, I guess then your performance is at zero.
Yeah, zero, right?
right.
But, maybe one, right?
Yeah, maybe one. So, And it's hopefully what I'm trying to do even with podcasts is to help people understand there are a lot of ways to find value in what you do.
Absolutely.
And once you start doing that, like anything else, the momentum of your own success will breed more success.
Absolutely does. And once you get there and you let go of that baggage or those monkeys that you were holding on to, you realize life gets lighter, and then you start applying those successes to the next one. I mean, I could look at my life and say I was a high school dropout. Woe is me. My teacher hated me. Right? Like I don't know what I'm going to do. I skipped from job to job, and then other life events that have happened to me. Oh, it's not my fault. So and so was a horrible person. They put me down. Or I can look at my element and my role in this and decide, well, what can I do? Because life is just the way it is. Okay, I can't change the world.
Well, and I love the concept that nobody cares, because the truth of the matter is nobody cares.
Nobody does.
Nobody cares.
No.
And they're not thinking about you the next day.
No, like there's a couple people in your life that will care about you, right? Like your closest friends and family, most likely, hopefully. And some people don't even have that. But the guy on the street, right? I don't know him, and tomorrow he may die, and we will all go on. If we don't know, like the news line today is our attention spans are 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Nobody cares, so you have to. And if you're not going to care, nobody else is going to come rescue you and save you. Yeah, why should they, right? Because you haven't started yourself. But we do say, and I believe that people do care once you try. If you put forth the effort on your own life, we see that and we say, hey, I want to be part of that. Let me help you.
No question.
Like it's like when you're kids, I want to buy a car, Dad. I want to get that. Okay, great. When you save up X dollars, I'll chip in, right? That's that process. Don't go buy a car from them. Teach them that they need to care and they need to take actions, and then
it's meaningful, and then it's stepping stones for everything else that they're going to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your journey.
Appreciate it.
I would never have known that this was your journey. It is fascinating, and I'm glad within that there's some esports gaming.
Yeah.
And
we're going to be everywhere, I'll tell you that. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to not only following it, but we'll work together and we'll be there, and I can enjoy it.
Yes.
And I'm going to read the book. And
thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of the MAP Esports Podcast Network and produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Please be sure to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite podcast player.